if you've been running in the background and have an idea of what your prize piece of gear candy might be for your overall creative process, any and everything, sky's the limit. As I said, it does not have to be gear. It can be something else completely different altogether. Maybe something you don't even find in the studio. Who knows? But any and everything is welcome.
I did think about this. It was turning into the background for the last hour and a half or whatever like that. And at first, my knee-jerk reaction was my unfair child, for sure.
Oh, good.
But you know what? I'm going to back off that, though, actually. I'm going to back off that.
He's backing off the unfair child, Tom.
I'm going to back off my unfair child, which is, anyone knows me, that's a pretty big statement for me to back off the unfair child desert island thing. But you know what it is, actually? And it struck me as I was talking earlier in the podcast. Desert island thing, my stereo that I've had since I was 14 years old. I have listened to every mix I've ever done on that stereo, and it isn't done until it passes that stereo test. It's not a nice stereo, mind you. It's just...
Oh, wow.
Love that.
What kind is it? Like, paint the picture for us.
It's an old Sony stereo with sharp speakers that I literally got for about $120 at Best Buy when I was 14 years old. And it was the first stereo I ever bought. And I think it's because I learned how to listen to music on it. You know, I listened to all my favorite records on that growing up. So I just sort of know what music should sound like on those speakers. And as much as this hi-fi shit is awesome, if it doesn't sound good on those speakers, then it's not finished. Right, because I know what music should sound like on those speakers. I've been listening for 20 years, literally 20 years. You know, I'm going to be 30. I'm 35, so 21 years. So if it doesn't pass that test, then it doesn't pass, doesn't go anywhere. So I think that actually would be my desert island thing, because if I don't have those speakers, I'm not sure if I could actually finish anything. Yeah.
Wow. So that just like supersedes the
Yes.
car stereo test that we're all so familiar with. And you're just like, fuck that.
Yeah.
I have a reference that came even
Literally
before
wasn't even driving
the
it,
car
so, yeah.
stereo.
Yeah.
That makes me wish that I kept the first
Right.
speaker that I had in my room when I was a kid, that I listened to and taped everything off the radio, because that was literally like my first band's demo when we were 11, 12, and recorded it on that 4-track red Tascam, cassette recorder. I would come downstairs and be like, what does this sound like in the tape player next to everything else that I recorded off the radio, and be like, a little different. Okay, there's room to improve. But now I'm just like, man, I would love to. I mean, Tom, you've put some stuff onto cassette recently with your solo project too. I was like, I would love to just drop them in A and B and just be like, okay, boom, and do the reference, the what is it, the metric AB plugin version of the cassette player.
Yeah, right. Of the analog version of it. Yeah. Yeah. And it's one of those things where it's moved with me literally to every place I've ever lived. It started at my parents' house, and it's moved across the country with me. It's like I have to have it. And I've gotten it fixed a couple of times, by the way, too, because it definitely has broken over the years. But it's like, dude, I literally bought that for $120 mowing lawns when I was 14 years old. And it's like I've never given it up. I have to have it, and if I don't have it, I think I feel out of sorts. I remember even records that I've done out of town, I come back home and listen to them on that stereo to finish the record. You know what I mean? 100 million %, it does not go out into the world until I know it sounds good on that stereo. Yeah.
Man, I love that. Man, that's like Tom and I. Since I left Philly, I'm just like, Tom, I need you to listen to this mix in our room and tell me what's wrong with it.
Exactly. Yeah, you know that room.
I know it's good on the all Ds right now, but I need someone to hear it in our space, so I know that the low end's good.
At times I've thought about just hooking those speakers up at my studio, but
you know what's funny? You say that, and I know who is it? Oh man,
Craig Bauer.
I don't think it's Billy. Is it Bauer?
Yeah.
I thought it was him or a Billy Decker type guy that literally took the speaker. They had an old pickup truck that was their car stereo mix.
No, that was country, not country guy. It's oh man. It works Jack White.
Which is probably why I thought Decker, because I was thinking Nashville.
It's Jack White's guy. They have the transmitter in the studio.
Really?
Yeah.
Right. Well, and I've heard two stories of this, and they might be different engineers, but one of them literally took the speakers out of the car and brought them in and wired them to an auxiliary send in the studio so they could A/B their mono, their whatever, and then boom, car speaker, and go stand in front of it. And then another one that is a high level mixer, and Tom, maybe you'll find this other one.
Vance Powell at Sputnik.
Yeah.
he has the transmitter that goes out to like a FM radio station
to see how his mixes will translate to radio once they get like compressed and sent out, which is brilliant. And also awesome. You're just like, I want to know how this is going to sound when I give it to the label. Then they give it to the radio station. The radio station has to compress it even further to get the signal to go further. And then a car antenna with like slightly bad reception has to like input it and put it through a speaker. What's it going to sound like then?
Eric told me a story once. Barefoot. Funny you talk about this. Reminds me of this. He said he got tired of referencing mixes in his car. So at one point he had run this fucking crazy cable out of the A room, down the hallway, into the parking lot, into his car. So he would press play in the A room and he could go into his car and listen in real time to what the mix was sounding like in the car.
Love that.
This is exactly what they would do, except with the transmitter. Yeah, same thing. Tom, we should have done this because honestly, at True Lit, we'd only need like a 30-foot run to go out the back door into the parking lot.
Oh, it's that door right there.
Yeah, so you walk out that back door, it's the basement, and then you walk through another door and you're pretty much at Tom's car. So
totally feasible to do. Yeah, in my studio, my parking spot in my studio was like, there's no way I could do it. There's just no way. There's no way. But Eric told me that story once because he got tired of kept sending himself files and shit. He's like, I just want to know, like, if I need to check something and fix it, let me just hear it now so I could just walk back the fuck in, my happy ass back into the room and just fix it instead of like going back and forth 20 times. Pretty genius.
Totally.
That's right. And then you save yourself the bounce. I mean, how many times have I just been sitting in that same chair, Tom, and bounced something down, waited for it to upload to Dropbox, then gone out to my car, had to like download it from Dropbox onto my phone and then plug it in to see what it sounds like. Whole thing averted. And then because within the first 5 seconds you can be like, I clipped the beginning accidentally. Fuck.
Right, exactly. And I guess Eric looked at it, I was like, if this takes me 2 hours to do, it'll say in the long run, it saves me so much time having to do that thing instead.
Totally.
I thought it was genius when he told me. I've never heard of anybody doing that. It's interesting to hear other people who have done that too, because I've never heard of anybody doing that thing. That's amazing.
Hey, the audio memes don't lie
really don't,
when it comes to the car stereo test. Well, Mike, thank you so much. What an awesome story. And I love that, man. You pivoted on the Unfair Child. For all the gear nerds out there, that's big. That one's big.
I'm actually can't believe it, to be honest with you. I really can't.
Yeah, awesome. But this was great. Thank you for sharing your favorite piece of gear candy with us, and we highly appreciate it. Thank you again.
Absolutely, dude. My pleasure. That's a fun question, by the way. That really is a fun question.
Hell yeah.
Yeah, well, and honestly, it's fun for that reason because it is like there's always seems to be a story behind another story, and there's always a story that's even better and deeper behind something other than I just love how this gear sounds.
Yeah,
exactly. Because that's an Unfair chart. It's like, it's everything you put through. It sounds amazing. Well, okay. I mean, that's not really, that's fine. But it hit me when we were talking about how I was saying, like, I feel as if I can pull performances out of someone, that I can make a record on a laptop that's better than making a record in my studio. And I do believe that. The gears are turning. I'm like, I'm going to say my Unfair chart. But in that moment, I'm like, actually, no, because Unfair chart doesn't make anybody sound good. Like it makes things sound better, but it doesn't get me that performance. Mm-hmm. But when I'm mixing to finish the record, the one thing that I always do, I don't always use something here, but I always go the fuck home and listen to that on stereo. So that's when it hit me during the conversation. Yeah,
that's right. That's awesome.
Love that.
Yeah, dude, this was a blast.